Okay, so for this first step, guys, we're just going to map out basically where everything is going to go. First thing you want to do is make sure you got an eraser, you have a 4H pencil, and a ruler that you can read the measurements on. Now, keep in mind that for the demonstrations, guys, that I'm going to be doing up here, I am not going to be using a 4H pencil because that's just too light for the video, so I'm going to be using a regular pencil. So do as I say, not as I do. But the first part we're going to do is just we're going to need the ruler, but this will be the only day that we use the ruler. Okay? So the first thing I want you guys to do is take your ruler, and we are going to divide the top. I need to kind of move my stuff around a little bit here. We're going to divide the top in half. So the paper is 12 inches wide, or should be. If it's a little off, don't worry about it. That's just because of the paper cutter. But what I want you guys to do is make a mark at 6 inches up here at the top, and then do the same thing down here at the bottom. Make a mark right here at the 6-inch measurement. Make sure, too, when you're using your ruler, that you are reading it correctly and you actually have the edge of your paper at the 0 mark. And that's not always at the end of the ruler either. So look at your ruler, figure out where the 0 mark is. All right, and then what you're going to do after that is basically take your ruler, connect those 2 marks so you have a line a vertical line that goes straight down the middle of your project. Okay? And you guys need to keep that light because, again, in our final product, we do not want to see that at the end. And I just got oil pastel on my drawing from somebody getting oil pastel on the ruler. Okay. So now everybody should have basically a vertical line that's going straight down the middle of your paper, and that should be at the 6-inch mark because our paper is 12 inches wide. And everybody should have their paper turned so it's vertical, so it's taller than it is wider. Now the next thing I want you guys to do is you're going to take your ruler and you need to measure 7 inches from the top of your paper, and right on top of that line that we drew, make a mark 7 inches down. Okay? So again, on that midpoint line that we just made, make a mark 7 inches from the top. And then I would also do this off to the sides too. And this will help us just make sure that we are actually drawing a straight line when we do it. So mark 7 inches from the top on both the left and the right side. And then draw a line across. Just making sure that all your marks are matching up. And again, keep that line nice and light. And I keep getting red oil pastel on my project. So keep your lines nice and light. I might need to make mine just a little bit darker here. Again, keep yours light. I'm going to be working dark just so it shows up better on the video. There. All right. right, so that line that we just drew across, that horizontal line, actually is going to represent where our eyes are going to be. So we're going to align our eyes there. This intersection that you see right here in the middle, not exactly in the middle of the paper, but right here between our vertical and horizontal line is basically where, I guess is going to be the point between our eyes, where the bridge of our nose sort of intersects the forehead, okay? So what I want you guys to do now is that now what you need to do is, and you can do this a couple different ways, but I like to use my pencil as a measuring tool, okay? So I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm going to use the top as like the edge of the ruler, and then I'm going to use my finger to kind of cap off the measurement that I'm trying, or the part of my face that I'm trying to measure. So right now what I want you guys to do is we're going to measure our nose. So put your, and I need to see this in my mirror first. So put the top of your pencil right here in between your eyes, okay? Right here in between your eyes like this. And then take your other finger and you want to cap it off right there at the bottom of your nose. Okay? We basically want to figure out just how long our nose is. Okay? So again, we're just trying to figure out, and if you guys notice, my pencil is to the side of my nose. I'm not on my nose, because if I put it on my nose, I'm going to get a different measurement, okay, because my nose sticks out. I just want to know how tall it is, okay? So I'm going to measure that. And then I'm going to basically take that measurement and I'm going to place it here on my paper. And I'm going to make a mark where I think the bottom of my nose needs to be. Now after I make that initial mark, I'm going to remeasure my nose again, because the first time I do something it's never right. Again, I'm going to take the top of my pencil, I'm going to put it right here where I see it in between my eyes, and then I'm going to take my other finger, cap off where the bottom of my nose is, okay, and then I'm going to drag that pencil down here, and see, and I have it wrong initially. I need to make mine a little bit longer. So this is my first sort of guess at the size of one of my facial features. I'm starting with the nose. Okay? All right, so the next step we're going to do, try to get this kind of oriented here. We're going to kind of work our way down, okay? So now what I want you guys to do is I want you to measure from where we ended, which was the bottom of our nose. Take your pencil, put it right there at the bottom of your nose, okay, right there at the bottom of your nose, and I want you to basically cap it off, measure to where the middle of your mouth is, so where the top and your bottom lip meet. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to show you guys here. Right here. So see me? Going from the bottom of my nose to my midline. So go from the bottom of your nose to your midline. So we're measuring that distance. Put that down on your paper and make your mark where you think that needs to be. So this is, again, where you believe the midline of your lips are, or the middle of your mouth. And I always remeasure. I actually need to move it up a little bit. So I remeasure. That's better. Now you guys will be amazed that even after we've measured these things and we've checked it a couple times, we'll still be moving this stuff around as we go in and fill in the facial features, and that is completely normal, okay? So now again, we're going to start where we left off. So start your measurement now where your midline is, and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of our chin. So measure from that midline to the bottom of your chin. And I need to bring that up a little bit. Now I'm just going to write on here what these are. You guys do not need to do that, okay? But I'm just doing this so you guys can see this, okay? So we've got where my nose supposedly ends, where my chin ends, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to work our way up here. We're going to come back up here to the top, and we're going to start working with the eyes, okay? So one of the rule of thumbs with a portrait in general is, again, we use the eyes to basically map everything out, okay? How many eyes this, how many eyes that, that sort of thing. So we're using comparative measurement. We've actually already used finding the midpoint by drawing this line straight down the middle of our paper. So this is finding the midpoint. And I think that's always a good method to use just to get things started. We just literally just measured things for the nose, the mouth, and the chin. Now we're going to map out the eyes, and then we're going to use that eye measurement and double check everything before we start going in and drawing stuff, okay? So one of the rule of thumbs is that typically you have about an eye's distance between the two eyes, okay? So what I want you guys to do, you can pick whichever eye you want to work with, but whatever eye you choose to start with, I want you to always use that as your unit of measurement, because I'll be honest, here's another thing that's interesting. Our eyes are not the same, okay? So one is naturally bigger than the other. That's just the way we're made, okay? So if you're going to start with your right eye, make sure that you stick with your right eye. So now what I want you guys to do, I want you to take your pencil again, and without poking yourself in your eye, okay, I want you to measure from the very edge of your tear duct to the very other opposite end of your eye. So we're just trying to figure out just how wide is your eye. So make that measurement. This is mine, okay? So make that measurement. It can be kind of hard if you got like mascara and makeup on to see where that edge is, but do your best, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that eye measurement. This is my eye measurement, and I am going to center it right on top of here. So I'm going to center that eye measurement right on top of here. Again, I never take my first measurement. I'm going to remeasure and just double check to make sure that I have it right. And I do not. I need to shorten it. A lot of times I can't get to the right answer without putting the wrong answer down first. You got to give yourself something to work with. So you may have to go back and forth and do this a few times. And that looks closer. Yeah. Okay. So we're just trying to figure out the spacing basically between the two eyes. Okay, so now what I want you guys to do, go back to that eye that you initially measured, and I want you to go ahead now, and I want you to compare this measurement to the actual spacing between your two eyes to double check that. Okay, so measure your right eye, and I want you to double check to make sure that you do have an eye's width between your two eyes. Some people do, some people don't. Okay, some people have a little bit of a wider bridge, some people have a little bit more of a narrow bridge, but it's close. Okay, now for me, I pretty much have an eye's width in between. I'm going to do this again. I might have just a little well, here. Again, it can be hard to tell sometimes, especially you got makeup on. It's close. So, once you kind of fix that up, depending on what you found out, if your bridge is a little bit wider or smaller, now what I want you guys to do is go back to that eye measurement and very simply map out where your right and left eye are. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Remeasure this. Another little trick you can do too, and I can give you guys Post-it notes if you want to, but I'm going to show you guys this. So I'm going to take my Post-it note, I'm just going to mark the measurement of my eye right here, and I'm going to just use that as basically like a ruler. And go all the and just work out both the left and the right. So there's my two marks. And then go back and remeasure again. But this time I want you to measure for your right eye and your left eye, because again, one might be a little bit bigger than the other. Check that and fix it. And I'll come around and pass out Post-it notes for anybody who might like one. You can keep this with your Post-it note with your project too. It's kind of nice to go back to that. And you can even hold it up to the mirror. And just to make sure. Yeah. And then I'm going to keep hold on to that little Post-it note, and I'm going to rely on that for more stuff. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to kind of work out that eye area. And again, you know, you might find that your left eye and right eye are a little different, and that's not abnormal. That's very normal. And then if you haven't noticed already, we are using life-size measurements. So that'll make it easy for you guys. If you're ever confused or wondering, okay, what size does this need to be? How far away is this from that? All you have to do is just really physically measure it. So just measure it right on your face. Okay? So after you kind of get your eyes worked out, then what I want you guys to do is go back to that little Post-it note. And I want you to do things like compare that to like the height of your nose and all that kind of stuff. So figure out, you know, okay, well, how many eyes does it make to make my nose? How many eyes is it from the bottom of my nose to the bottom of my chin? so on and so forth. So just measure everything out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to my nose. And what I can see is, for me, and again, I'm different from all of you guys, is that it's about a sort of the length of the eye is the same as the height of the nose to basically the bottom of my eye. Not to the eye, not to the middle, but right up there into the corner. And I think that's still going to be, I think I need to lift it up. Huh? Maybe not. Huh? I think I'm all right. What you can do is see, and we can go ahead and try to map out where the top of our forehead is. A lot of times you can associate your nose height to your forehead height. So if you want to, you could use that, or you could do the eyes. A lot of times I kind of look at scale. So if I'm talking about a bigger space, I might use my nose. So you want to make sure you have a good beginning and end spot. A little bit more. So that's my nose. My forehead is a little bit taller than my nose. So I'm going to do that again. And sometimes too I just use my fingers. So I'll just use my fingers sometimes. So this is where I'm estimating the top of my forehead is. That's not the top of my head. Okay, that's just the top of my forehead. The top of my head would even be farther up from there. And again, a lot of times you can take that nose height, create your forehead from that, and then add another nose on top of your forehead, and that's basically where the top of your head would be. So we can go ahead and mark that down too. It's not something we're going to be working out right now, but that would be like the top of my hair and head. Try to zoom out. So I'll put forehead. And then all right, so if you guys noticed, I have not had you guys deal with the outside edge of your face at all. For me, and of course everybody's a little different. Some artists like to actually start with that first and then work their way in. I feel like it's easier to start inside the face and work your way out, because I find if I do it the opposite way, I'm fixing, I'm changing a lot, and I'm changing it by mountains. If I do it the other way. So when I do it this way, I am still making changes as I go through, but they're just small changes. They're not huge changes. So the edges of our face won't be worked out for quite some time. Actually, not until we get our facial features drawn on there and stuff like that. So yeah. So I just make sure you guys get everything measured out for that. All right, so that's all we're going to do for today, guys. And then the next step is going to be starting the eyes and the eyebrows. So that is it.